Hello, friends, and welcome. So, for any of my friends, I feel like August is a travel month. So many of us are, traveling. A lot of us driving, sitting in our cars, going to camp or visit people, various things. And so, I wanted to do a little low back series. We'll do a little bit in the upper back too, but I feel like when you're sitting in your car a lot or on planes, you're sleeping in beds that aren't yours, etc. I feel like this area of the body often takes the brunt of that. So hopefully this is just a short little sequence that you can do for a little bit of low back love, we'll call it. So we're going to start on our backs right off the bat. And once you get down onto your back, let's come into constructive rest pose. We won't be here quite as long as we often have our opening awareness, but let's take a few moments anyway and just drop into the body. Noticing what's happening in your particular body. And lately we've been really practicing, I'll say, right? Working with the subtle body just as much as the gross body. And not, ew, gross, but rather gross are the big tangible things, right? Our muscles, our skeleton. We can sense that. We start to move into our subtle body when we start to talk about breath, emotions, feelings, energy. And you are one holistic being. Last I checked, me too, right? I have to remember that every once in a while. All of these pieces and bits and parts, they're all part of one holistic being. About 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and bring your arms by your side. We're going to start with the upper body and just give a little release there. Reach the right arm overhead. That's on an inhale. When you exhale, that arm is going to come down. And let's alternate, so your left arm will come up next. And you can take whatever breath rhythm works best for you, right? But if you're coming at this as a checklist and something to do, as you reach the right arm overhead, the next time you can rock your head to the left. We do this quite a bit anyway. I shouldn't say a lot, but quite a bit, where we try to separate our neck from our shoulder. But I was saying the checklist, if you're someone who it's like, yep, I got to get in there, got to do my yoga. When my yoga's done, I got to do the thing. And then we start to checklist. And if we're in that frame of mind, often that means the same thing for each move that we do. Okay, reach arm overhead, done, got it, did it. So be present, be mindful, notice what you notice in your body as you do these moves. And then after you've reached the left arm overhead the next time and it's back down by the side, that will complete your cycle. Let the arms come out to a 45-ish, palms up. Any adjustments you need to feel comfortable here. And then let your knees separate away from each other. Our feet are already wider than our hips. Awesome. You're going to let that right knee drop down and in. And I'm not pushing with my muscles or reaching with this one, not right now anyway, right? I'm just letting the weight of the leg fall over to the right, and then I'm staying out of it muscularly. Just let it be just that this first round. Knees come up, knee comes up, right knee stays steady, the left knee just drops over past the midline towards the right leg. And again, don't try to be muscular with this at this moment. Just let the knee fall in with its own weight. And bring that up. So this time we're going to reach that right knee down, but you might walk your right foot out a little bit further, maybe even off the mat. Please be careful of knee joints when we're doing this. Keep the right foot flexed. And if your knee's like, no, do what we just did moments ago. So I'm adding just a little more muscular movement. Nothing crazy, but I'm really gently just reaching that right knee. And more than down, I'm reaching it forward and pulling out of my joint a little bit. Bring that knee up, walk that foot back onto the mat if it was off. Walk your left foot off the mat a little bit and let the left knee fall over. Again, keep the left foot flexed for this particular exercise. But if the knee doesn't like it, don't do it. a little gentle movement forward of the left knee. And go ahead and bring that knee up, walk your foot in, and then just go in a regular old windshield wiper twist. So you can bring those arms up a little, and now both legs will go to each side of the mat. If it feels nice, add that head turn in, and then we get a twist through the entire body, or the entire spine anyway. The next time you're over to the right, go ahead and pause over there. Maybe reach that left arm overhead. For this one, I don't tend to turn my head to the left as much. I look up a little more. And then just lengthen your left knee forward and your left hand back, and just take a breath into the left side body. Sorry if my microphone was just getting crunched. Coming back to center, neutral. Legs over to the right, and for today's variation, we're going to reach the right arm overhead if the shoulder's okay. The right knee reaches forward, and breathe into that right side body wherever you're feeling any kind of tightness or anything. Come back to the center, walk that arm back to neutral, walk the feet back in, bring the right leg in and interlace around that knee, that shin. And I forgot to tell you to have a strap nearby, so grab a strap if you need it. That said, if you don't have a strap, remember you can interlace behind the thigh. But if you do, let's use the strap today. We're going to take our time and break this one down. Strap around the ball mounds of the right foot. Pretty straight arms, shoulders nice and soft in their sockets, shoulders on the ground. And then that right heel is going to push up. It can be further forward. The knee can be a little bit bent, right? Where is it that you're finding the stretch you need in the back of your right leg? And, you know, breathe and stuff. If you remember that feeling, right, of moving your right thigh forward into interlaced hands behind it that we often do that, because that's low back traction, right? And again, we're trying to love our low back. So keep that right thigh reaching forward. I could say it really simply like that. But many of you who follow me, that's why we often put our hands around the thigh, is so we can find that traction. Go ahead and put both straps into your left hand. We're going to extend the left leg out. You could always let the left knee fall to the left if you prefer the bent. And then let your right leg move over to the right while pushing the left thigh down to the ground. You could even put your hand on that thigh for a support system. And then pause. Your right elbow can come down to the ground or it can stay lifted. I'm going to work a little softer today by bringing my elbow down, pushing my heel away, and breathing. That's your inner groin line. If you don't feel that, bring the legs up, the right leg. Put both straps in the left hand. Right arm can just go where it's comfortable. And then remember the IT band, we keep the right hip on the ground. So it's not a twist. My spine and my pelvis stay stable, and I move the leg over to the left a little bit, maybe a little bit towards the head side of my mat. I can kind of play with that until I'm like, ooh, yeah. Pinky toe, pulling back to the outer hip for me is like the move that really brings it home, so to speak. And bring that back up. You're going to release that strap. Now let's take the gentler version. Keep the right foot in the air, put the left foot on the ground, bring the arms by the side. And if you're like, I don't need the gentle version, we're talking about loving our low back, so maybe your low back does. Go ahead and point your toes and flex your foot, and point your toes and flex your foot. And then we're going to start to bring that right leg down to the ground, right? And we just keep pointing and flexing, keep toning the belly, pushing the left heel down. And this is a way that we can start to build that strength without stressing the low back usually, yeah? Put both feet on the ground, walk the feet wide, lean the knees in, arms in Shavasana, pause. Notice your right lower body, notice your left lower body. Walk the feet in, bring the left knee in, hug that leg in a little bit. Just starting around the low back and open that area. And then go ahead and put the strap around the ball mounds. Start to push that heel up. And again, the only reason I talk about the arms is because we want a neutral upper body, right? And we want our shoulders to still be able to relax even though the arms are working. So my arms are fairly straight. Right? My shoulders are on the ground, and then I push my left heel up. Imagine, if you will, that you had your hands behind your left thigh and you were pushing your thigh forward towards the foot side of your mat into your hands. And breathe. Straighten that right leg all the way out. I'm going to put both straps in my left hand. I'm going to put my right hand on my right thigh today as a reminder to move that thigh down, moving my left leg out to the left any amount. You don't win a prize if you get so far or any of that kind of stuff, right? Elbow can come down, it doesn't have to. I'm taking the extra support today. I don't feel like I need to push myself or build a lot of extra heat. It's still hot out, but I do want to get that inner groin line. So I'm working that leg pretty strongly. I would say I'm at about 65 in the left leg. And bring that leg up. And I know that percentages are just it's a way that I can speak where I see the most people respond instead of me just saying gently or, pinning or certain words. So I've started to use percentages, but whatever that is to you, right? Go ahead and move that left leg over to the right, keeping that left hip nice and heavy on the ground. That left thigh still moving forward even here, right? That's true in the whole sequence. Hopefully that outer left leg somewhere is like, whoo-wee, whew. Thank you. Left leg comes back up. Put the right foot on the ground with the knee bent. Remove the strap off to the side. Flex and point the left foot. Arms. I think I said arms by the side. I'm a little tired. We got in late. Helped my friend bring a dog to a surgeon. We got in late last night. Go ahead and start to lower that leg down so my brain is a little slow, and that's okay. My pelvis stays neutral, my spine stays neutral. And then now bring that foot back, walk your feet wide, lean your knees in, and pause. And notice. Okay, so we're actually going to just roll over onto our belly. Bring your arms forward. Stack your forearms or your hands, whichever one works best for you. Bring the forehead down. Take your feet out about as wide as your mat. So my legs my feet anyway, are wider than hip distance. And then just soften. Let the feet and the ankles roll. Pardon me, the legs roll, whatever needs to happen here for you to soften. And start to breathe and notice that when you have that belly soft and you're doing the soft belly breath, right, because the belly doesn't really have anywhere to go, so to speak, what that does is that gives you this beautiful breath work in your low back, the side waist. So when my low back is sensitive, this is one of my favorite things to do for it. And it's amazing how much healing and spaciousness you can get with simply using the breath and not necessarily having to move and stretch and do all the things. I mean, I like that too, don't get me wrong. But I used to have some pretty acute pain in my low back. And this was one of the things that helped it the most. Now imagine that you can expand not just your low back and sideways, but even like you could expand down into the pelvis, all the way down to the pelvic bowl. And that doesn't mean I have to exert or use more pressure or force. I'm just using awareness here. Now keep the knees wide, bring the feet up, and bring your feet together. I didn't say that well. Bend the knees, bring the feet together. I'm going to walk even a little wider with my knees personally. You can kind of hopefully feel that in your pelvis. And then you're going to let your right foot move down the left leg towards the left knee, right? And then bring it up. And then you're going to do that with your left foot. The left foot just kind of glides down the right leg. And go ahead and do that for yourself a few times. Leave the head down. Leave the neck released if you can, please. We don't want to stress the neck and the upper back for this. And then now adding on, when the right leg goes down the next time, the left leg may move over to the left And basically we're doing windshield wiper twists, but we're on our belly, right? So there's a totally different relationship to gravity. So I love windshield wiper twist. And I find that beneficial for my thighs, my hips, my low back. But this one I feel like I isolate even more into the back of my pelvis and my low back. You may have a different experience, but hopefully it feels beneficial as you move back and forth. And you could leave that leg moving off to the side out of it and just continue to do stage 1 of what we were doing. Now we're going to do one more move. As I move my legs over to the left, my right knee might slide up a little bit. And then I'm actually going to extend my left leg back out to where it started so that the shin is on the ground. The foot is on the ground, not the shin. And my right leg is in kind of like frog pose, right? So it's just out to the side a little bit. It's kind of somewhere between frog and bound angle. And then go ahead and bring that leg back. You don't have to lift that shin up this time. You can just leave the leg in its wide position, the right leg. Bend the left knee. Let the left foot move towards the right leg and then scoot the left knee out to the left a little bit if that's okay with your pelvis. And then just soften everything. So again, my left leg is basically in bound angle. Similar to frog. If frog is the way you think about it, frog would just be a different shin and foot position. And then go ahead and bring that knee back in, extend the legs out, switch the crossing of the forearms or the hands just for a couple of breaths anyway. I meant to do that a little earlier. Then breathe. Breathe into that low back. And then we're going to push the floor away and come on up. And from there, we're going to go into child's pose. So you can do the knee wide version. Stretch the body out when you're letting the upper body come down in hopes that maybe you get a little more length in the spine. But yes, my spine is rounding. Right? My forehead is resting on something. And breathe into that back body. Let your hips sway a little bit from right to left if that's okay with your body. And by the way, you could be laying on your back, hugging your knees in, and doing this pose in the opposite position if you need to for hips or knee joints. And then come back to center, walk your hands out in front of you. We're going to do side child's pose. You know I love this one. Walk your hands over to the right, reaching that left arm forward and away. And I mean, I feel it in my whole left side body, even by my armpit, my latissimus dorsi, etc. But hopefully that left sideways / low back feels some length as well. Come back to center, walking over to the left, reaching those arms forward and away. Right hand pushes down, right hip sinks down and back, and hopefully that right side body begins to expand and open. Breath will always help that. Come back to center. Let's do one downward dog for good measure. If downward dog is not your jam, I would say go to a counter or a wall and do it from standing. Otherwise, curl the toes under and start to make your way back into downward dog. And in case that doesn't make sense, what I just said, right, I can come up to a wall, and that way I'm not bearing weight, or even a counter, and I can do downward dog without taking the weight into my upper body as much. And I'm demonstrating that, even if from the back view, right? So feel free to do that version if that feels better. My friends who are down on the mat, feel free to bend one knee, straighten another. You can sway hips from side to side if you feel an opening anywhere there in your body, your side body. Now let the spine elongate as much as it can here. And then let's all come back down to child's pose. Breathe. Hands next to knees, push the floor away. Let's do one more little move for that kind of low back. area. We know this one pretty well. We've been working it a lot lately, and I just work it in general. It's one of my favorites. You can sit on height. You don't have to. You can support knees with blocks. The right heel is going to come in. My left leg is a little wide. I'm going to turn my belly towards my bent knee, and then bringing that left arm inside the left leg, with the right hand on the hip, I'm just going to slide in. Now, we haven't done a lot of side opening, side waist opening, so be kind. Don't push into it, right? As you push the arm and the leg together, you can maybe rotate those ribs a little bit. Instead of looking up, we've been talking about looking at the horizon. If you feel like you're, in that pitta mode, that heat mode, and it doesn't even have to be like at this moment, but just from weeks of having, 90s triple digits. Mine is definitely accumulating. It doesn't take nearly as much for me to get really hot and move towards like mild heat stroke, almost not heat stroke, but what's the one before that? I can't remember. Maybe that right arm reaches over. So think about that, right? This stuff can accumulate in your system. It's not just what you're feeling at that exact moment. And then we're going to come up and we're going to turn our body. So we're going to get this whole area. We just got the sideways. Let's get back here a little bit by turning the body towards the left leg, the bent leg, and folding out over that. And breathe. Push the floor away. We're going to switch our legs out. First we'll do twisted, right? So go ahead and move that arm in, left hand on the hip, push the two together and rotate the ribs, and go ahead and soften in just a little bit, and hopefully you start to feel that sideways, that left side waist. Maybe that top arm, right? And if you're already there, you might be in a little bit of a pushing mode. You'll get you there, right? The body's still getting great benefits with the hand on the hip. You can stay there, but give the body a second to feel that, sense that, unwind into that, and then ask for that next bit. Especially on days where you haven't done a lot of it in the class previously, bringing you up to that point, right? Come on up, turning belly towards right leg, lengthening spine, folding over. And hopefully now with our belly turning towards the left leg and us turning down, we start to get that lower left back a little bit. Push the floor away, come on up. And then actually, if you feel like you have time at home and you'd like to lay down in Shavasana, fantastic, right? But we're going to move towards our closing awareness. So either push, pause, or stop and just lay down and take your time and take 5-10 minutes Shavasana. Otherwise, find yourself in a pose that you can sustain for about 2.5 minutes. And as you find yourself with that upright posture, that long spine, hopefully, maybe, we feel like we got a little bit of love in that low back area, the sacrum area. Notice how you tend to sit, which way you're trying to work against, I'm going to say. If you're sitting cross-legged, chances are your pelvis wants to go behind you, and you're trying to pull that upper rim in and up. If that feels like that's a lot of work, sit on height. Try to get your hips the same level at least, if not a little higher than your knees. That's anatomical for every human body, right? I am a kneeler. That way my hips are above my knees, but then I have to be careful because a lot of times I'll thrust my belly and my pelvis forward, right? And I'll overarch my low back, so then I need to be careful that I don't do that. The point being, whatever your tendency is, can you get the pelvis in a neutral position so the spine can grow tall out of it? And if the answer is no, how can you support yourself so that you can try to find that to the best of your ability at this moment in time, right now? And that, my friend, is one of the best things you can do for your low back. Bring those palms together in front of the heart. Inhale. Exhale, bowing the heart in. The heart, bowing the heart in. Bowing the head into the heart. And just taking a moment there. So much gratitude for giving yourself the space and time, for showing up for yourself, for doing a video, right? All the things. Namaste.